And joining us now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. It's good to see you, Senator. And we know you just met with some of your constituents talking about tariffs.
Yes.
What did they tell you?
Well, I was out on Long Island at a famous dress retailer called Tandy's Works. And she is a Trump voter, but she's just distraught. Her costs have gone up 30%. She doesn't want to raise prices for her customers. But she doesn't know how she's going to make it if these tariffs continue. And she has lots of employees. A lot of them voted Republican. I was in a Republican district, but they're just totally appalled by these tariffs. By the costs, and they realize that their own constituents, the average Long Islander, will pay about $5,000 more if the present tariffs stay in effect. They'll have less money to go to Tandy's and buy the clothes that they like to buy. They'd pay more for everything. People who are retiring, their IRAs are down almost $100,000 on average, less money there. And so she really doesn't understand this. And then the second thing, which you just brought up, is the chaos. They say different things on different days. Tandy's a businesswoman, a very successful businesswoman, a pro-Trump businesswoman, I might add. But she said, I can't deal with the chaos. You know, business people, whether they're big businesses, medium or small, they're able to plot out a path forward if they know what's happening. But things keep changing. Different people say different things. So the tariffs themselves are bad, and the chaos makes it even worse.
Which brings us to the question of what to do about it. You are a co-sponsor of a resolution that would rescind the president's wide-ranging tariffs. But how many co-sponsors do you have? And do you plan to try to force a vote on it when the Senate returns next week?
Yes, we have the right. Senators Wyden, Kaine, and I have introduced this resolution, which we can bring it to the floor, and we will. There will be a vote on tariffs. We've seen on other resolutions, Republicans joined us. When Senator Kaine brought one up on Canada, we did get 4 Republicans to join us. That was enough to pass it. It only needs 51 votes. Senator Cantwell has worked with Senator Grassley on a bipartisan bill that would stop all future tariffs. I think there are 6 or 7 Republicans on it. So Republican senators, and hopefully Congress people too, are feeling the heat. And I think they realize that this is a disaster for them. If you look at the numbers today, Donald Trump's stewardship of the economy is below 40. When he got into office, it was above 50. In part, that's due to the idea of cutting Medicaid and cutting Social Security and cutting Medicare and veterans benefits to pay for tax cuts for the billionaires. But in good part, it's also because of these tariffs. People think he doesn't know what he's doing, and any observer who watches what he says, what his advisors say, how it changes from day to day, would agree.
There's another big story, as you know, about your colleague today, Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, announcing he will not seek re-election in 2026. Number 2 Democrat in the Senate. Do you expect to endorse anyone for that job, or are you going to let your conference sort things out?
Well, let me say something. First, Dick Durbin has been a great senator, a great friend. We actually lived in the same little house. 4 of us shared a house for 20 years. And his effectiveness in the Senate was tremendous. The compassion he had for people. He did so much for the Dreamers. Now, this thing is 18 months away. You know, that's when the election will be held for Whip. So it's a little too early to speculate.
Well, let me ask you, though, because there is speculation, as you know, going on. What do you think about someone like Hawaii Senator Brian Schatz in that role?
Look, we have a lot of really good senators, and too early to speculate. I'm not going to do that.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar among them?
Too early to speculate. Try me again.
You can't blame me for trying, Senator.
No, I can't.
Look, Senator Durbin was on Morning Joe this morning. He gave some new insight into his decision to retire, and I want to play that.
It's a personal decision to run for the Senate. It's 2 years, a 2-year undertaking. Serving in the Senate is a 6-year term. So I looked at 8 years and said, I think it's time for me to pass the torch on to another candidate.
But have you given any thought to a more specific timeline when it comes to passing the torch yourself? Are you even giving that some thought right now?
Right now, I am focused on showing the American people how bad Trump's economics are for them, how he is putting our democracy at risk, and I am totally focused on that. As you said, I was out on Long Island today. I have visited all 6 Republican, 6 of the 7 Republican congressional districts talking about tariffs, talking about the economy, talking about how bad cutting Medicaid would be, particularly in our rural areas. That's my focus. And that's what I'm doing. And, you know,
so just so I'm clear, no thought, no conversation about when you might step aside.
I'm focusing on the decision that the Republicans in Congress have to make to whether support Trump with these horrible economic policies or not. And we're doing everything we can to show the American people who's on whose side.
As you know, Harvard University is suing the Trump administration for freezing billions in funding to the school after it rejected a list of the administration's demands. Is Harvard doing the right thing?
Yes. And in fact, today, a group of Jewish senators and myself sent a letter to the administration telling them that, look, going against anti-Semitism is important, but what they've done goes way beyond that. Cutting money for medical research in medical schools where there's been no evidence that they've presented of any anti-Semitism there, hurting people who need that kind of help, not only in the hospitals, but this great research that's been going on at some of our greatest universities, including Harvard, they're threatening to cut it off. That's because they're angry at the universities. Go after the specifics of anti-Semitism. Tell us what they are and what the reasons are. That's what our letter is. What are the specifics that are going on with anti-Semitism that the university isn't doing enough about? But don't, you know, use this chainsaw, to use a Musk approach, and just cut everything off. It is wrong. It's unconstitutional. They're really trying to block freedom of speech in ways that because they don't like what some of the people in the universities may say. But it also is so damaging to the future of our country and to the health of America. It's ridiculous. And Harvard did the right thing. I fully support what they're doing. I hope other universities will line up behind Harvard and not let the administration, because they don't like the universities, bully them into some kind of submission.
Well, let me read what President Trump posted on Truth Social just today, writing in part to your point, his opinion. Harvard is an anti-Semitic far-left institution, as are numerous others, with students being accepted from all over the world that want to rip our country apart. Is the Trump administration operating in good faith when it uses the issue of anti-Semitism to go after the nation's elite universities?
They are not. Look, I've gone after anti-Semitism at universities. So have the other signers of our letter. We don't like it. But they're not acting on good faith at all. They're acting in a lawless, reckless, vicious way. And it's not going to succeed. I believe America will rally behind the idea that you don't cut medical research, that you don't hurt. By the way, 90% of the students didn't participate in any demonstrations. What they're doing hurts all of the students, even the Jewish students who might have been hurt by anti-Semitism. It is ridiculous. It is not just ridiculous. It's very, very harmful to the future of this country and to freedom of speech in this country. You know, President Trump's got to learn something. Not everyone's going to agree with him, and he can't illegally use the power of the federal government to say, we'll cut your tax status, we'll stop sending you money illegally because I don't like what you say. It is so un-American, and no president, not a Democratic president, but Ronald Reagan didn't do this, George Bush didn't do this, none of the presidents except Donald Trump. He goes way beyond where any president should go, because he doesn't like democracy. He doesn't like to hear anybody oppose what he does. And maybe it's because people are learning that he's not on the side of the American people. He's on the side of a bunch of very wealthy billionaires. He wants to cut their taxes, cut Medicaid, put in these tariffs. Some of the reason they say is to have more tax breaks for billionaires. And so he keeps trying to put up these diversionary smoke screens. But the trouble is, they're not just diversionary. They are very damaging to this country and to the concept of this country, where we debate, we have freedom of speech, but you can't use the powers of the government illegally to try to shut someone up.
I want to ask you about something you told my colleague Chris Hayes last month. I'm quoting you here. We will all have to take extraordinary action if the president doesn't obey the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said the administration must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. That has not happened. Are we at the point, Senator, where you feel extraordinary action is warranted?
Look, the case will be back to the Supreme Court. They sent it down to the lower court judge. But if the president disobeys a Supreme Court order, extraordinary action will be necessary. And we've never had that in the Republic before in the kind of way that the president is doing it. And again, he doesn't believe in democracy. He doesn't believe there should be diversity of opinion. He doesn't believe in due process. You can't pick up someone off the streets and send them somewhere if you don't have if you haven't presented evidence against them. The country, the democracy is at risk.
What would trigger that, and what would it be, Senator? What would trigger it, and what would that be?
Well, it would be, look, first, it would be if the Supreme Court makes a final decision and Trump decides to disobey it, and it will be on all of us. Not just the political leaders, but certainly us, but on all Americans to resist that. And I think that would happen. Public opinion means everything here. And when the public learns more and more about what Trump is doing, whether it's on economics and tariffs to the universities or upcoming in this situation, I think the public's going to be outraged.
Finally, Senator, I am speaking to you today from the Vatican, where Pope Francis is being mourned. I can look down and see people lining up to pay their respects. And I know you spent time, you met the Pope when he visited New York.
Yes.
How are you remembering him?
He was a holy man. The Cardinal asked me, Cardinal Dolan, to greet him on the steps when he first arrived in New York. And it was an honor for me, of course. But the minute I met him, the brilliance and compassion of his soul shone through. It was a unique experience to meet this man. You had to be in his presence just 5 minutes to realize what a special person he was. And the whole world will miss him. His care for those who are downtrodden, his compassion, his leadership is going to be missed by all of us, whether we're Catholic or not.
Senator Chuck Schumer, appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
Nice to talk to you, Chris.